Cool, great. Well, welcome everybody. This is the Gratitude Show. We got to be running on episode around 20 right now or so. Am I right, Tiffany?
Episode 19.
19. Oh, one off. But going strong, we come to you every week on Thursday at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And the whole point of the Gratitude Show, for those of you that are watching, is essentially to be a place that people can come, plug in, get a dose of positivity, and really just, let their troubles go. Like, all we do is we focus on gratitude. Sounds like a simple concept, easier said than done, because we are so many times distracted and these things come at us that are out of our control. Before we know it, something else comes at you and you're like, oh, I thought I was just now okay, and now this. But that's what Gratitude Show is all about. It's just saying, hey, just focus on gratitude and do your thing.
Absolutely. And hey, everybody out there. Hey, Brian. Hey, Chris. Hey, Sammy. Hey, Stephanie. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm super excited. Adam, you're super excited. Why don't we
I'm excited.
Why don't we start like we always do? What are you grateful for?
Oh my gosh. Crazy news today. So excited. So I've been going back and forth with the state and like all these other compliance things. I won't bother the Gratitude Show with, but I will say this. So my firm, CenturyCity Wealth Management, as of today, has permission to do business.
Yay!
So finally this is months and months and months of work to get through paperwork and lawyers and blah, blah, blah. And now we are finally open for business. So I am super excited about that. It's just been a long way to getting there. And I just got the news today. Also did my first Facebook Lives today, Tiffany.
Yay! Congratulations.
Crazy out here on Facebook. It's fun though. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. Sorry in advance if I'm annoying, but I'm on there and I'm sharing. It's fun.
Wow, it's not every day when you see an expert Periscoper go to Facebook Live.
Wow, go figure.
Oh my gosh, there's just so much to be thankful for. What are you guys all thankful for in the audience? I know we are streaming on Facebook Live thanks to some help.
Awesome.
And it's just been an amazing, crazy roller coaster week that's just been full of adventure for me.
Tell me what you're grateful for. Come on, you are not getting out of this.
Oh, I'm grateful for everything, of course. The list goes on. I've learned now to turn my to-do list that's no longer a novel into a gratitude list that's a novel now. Oh my gosh. But yeah,
elaborate on that, please. I want to hear more. This is news to me.
Oh, sure. So I've been, obviously you guys know, I've been working with Brian King, who is an awesome teacher, coach, mentor, just friend, and he's just amazing on so many levels. That's why I'm super grateful and super excited to have him on our show tonight. And yes, he's just been actually helping me work through a lot of, I don't know, like just stuff that isn't serving me. And, I'm on day 17 for my 30-day revamp. And it's gone completely opposite than what I figured and what I thought, what I ever imagined, all in a good way though. So I'm super grateful for that. And what I mean by turning my my to-do list into a gratitude list, it's just something I've learned how to, you know me, I'm always a list keeper and like I have 1,000,001 things going on. And I've really kind of learned to just be in the now, be in the moment. I'm still obviously always going to be working on it and training and stuff, but and learning and growing. But yeah, just the methods that he has in that, I don't know. I need to make a word for this guy. Seriously, there has to be a new word defined for Brian King.
Oh, wow. I like this. I like this idea. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Excited to get to know and interview and talk to him. This is great.
Yeah. So if you guys are watching live on Facebook, Adam, I'm not able to take my cell phone out since it's streaming to Facebook right now. Are you able to? And maybe keep up with comments that way. There's some major changes going on as far as the Gratitude Show goes, and we don't know what those are yet, but we will let you know when we do.
This is what's happening. Let me tell you what. No, I know what's happening. So this is what's happening. So there's the universe, right? And there's this idea that, things are going to happen and we may perceive them to be negative at first. So it seems like they keep on throwing all these technical difficulties in the Gratitude Show's way. So first, come on, Blab shuts down. Now Whoza decides to change their policy about blah, blah, blah. Who cares? I don't even want to give them any publicity. That being said, we're going to find a way. The gratitude show is going to keep on coming to you. And, at some point, all of these different barriers are going to just dissolve. And it's going to be something we laugh at when we look back and we're like, whoa, remember that happened? And I'm like, no, I don't really actually remember because we're doing this over here. So that's what's happening right now, in short.
Yes, and it's all a blessing. I welcome these kind of events. Some people look at them as problems or whatever. I like to see them as challenges and room for opportunity to grow. And I know, Adam, you feel the same way. I'm like, bring it. Come on.
Mile time is the one, Brian says. That's awesome.
Yes, I love it. He's just full of helpful wisdom tips.
Oh, that's greatness.
And then also, I just wanted to let everybody know. So next week, okay, so yes, if you're on Facebook Live right now, there's a link that says if you want to interact, to go to that, and that's on Whoza. You can interact, ask Brian anything when he's on, ask us, also leave your feedback. And then next week is Thanksgiving. So the gratitude show will go on, except it'll be at 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So not 7 p.m., 4:30. And we're going to have a step-in guest host, Eric Burden, and he's from Canada, so they don't celebrate Thanksgiving. So I was really thankful for him. I'm also going to be interviewed by Wynn Charles from the Women of Wisdom podcast. So I've got a really busy day on.
Say that again, Women of Wisdom podcast.
Yes, Wynn Charles.
Wynn Charles, that's really cool. Have you been doing? You've been doing quite a bit on podcasts, huh?
I have. It's so exciting. I had Dave Daly come out from Monster Motivator TV, come out Tuesday, and he's coming out again tomorrow, and then he's coming back again when Dino schedules with him.
That's really cool. I just did one today for some. It was I think it's called like something like Kick-Ass Media PR. It's a PR firm that their target audience is people that are in PR. And the topic essentially was like how you make yourself a thought leader within your industry. So I don't know, like 20 or 30 minutes or so interview that they did on me and kind of what I do within finance and kind of how I brand myself. And it was just a lot of fun. I've done like the, articles and submitting that kind of stuff. But really the first time I've gotten into the podcasting and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It's just fun. Because you get to know them too was the thing. Like there was this unexpected benefit. At first I was just kind of thinking like, oh, let me see if I got time in my schedule, blah, blah, blah. But then once I did it, I'm like, man, I got to start doing more of this. So now I'm going out there and I'm looking for like podcasts that want to hear about personal finance and success. So I'm pretty excited about it. It was just different. And that was completely, what am I grateful for today? That was brand new. I was just like, wow, it's just a fun experience. And you meet great people. Like, it's just amazing. I'm like, wow, I asked her how long she'd been doing this. And she was like over 6 years. And I'm like, wow, that's just amazing to be dedicated to your podcast or anything for 6 years. Nowadays, it shows that, you have heart, you're stubborn, you have focus, and that you believe in your message and what you're doing. So I just had so much admiration for this woman. So when it comes out, I'll, of course, share it and all of that good stuff. But it's just fun.
Awesome. That sounds great. And oh gosh, Adam, you've come so far this year. I mean,
we have, both of us. It's crazy.
Yeah, we both have. And our audience, thank you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in, Colin and Sammy and Chris. I know you're brand new with us, but we thank you so much. We really, really appreciate all of you. If you want to share what you're grateful for, please go ahead and do so. And we're about to bring Brian on here shortly. And Adam, how is your book released yet? Can people get it?
Any day now. I will let you know. I'm literally waiting on the final proof. It should be any day. It could be tomorrow. I don't know. But there's nothing else to do. It's just the final proof. We'll see.
Isn't that exciting?
I'm excited. It's interesting because I don't think I updated on my website. I didn't look at this moment. I didn't update my website, I think, because it might say coming November 1st. So I had a couple people that ordered and I did a coaching call with somebody today. And I was talking to them, and we're going over their finances, and I'm like, and he's like, oh, the book. And he's like, oh yeah, I just ordered it. And I'm like, yeah, it's almost, he's like, wait a minute, I thought it was already done. And so let me order. I'm like, oh, that was the pre-order. And I was thinking, oh, I didn't change it, like update it and say, sorry, it's going to be like a week or two late. So it's good though. I'm happy that people, are in demand. And the funny thing about it was that in doing this coaching call with him, the whole reason this book came about, I was writing a completely different book, was because, I went on Ty Lopez's show, and after the show, I was talking to the people that run his camera and stuff, Alec and Jeff. Like, he has a great, amazing crew of people, and they're younger, and they had questions on finance. I'm like, oh, did that answer any of your questions? And they're like, no, we're confused. They didn't say it in those words, but I got the glazed over look. So then before I went to China, I just started writing, and I was like, it created a completely different book than what I was basically already almost done with. So I ended up going more of a, what can people do today type of book versus and putting my knowledge and expertise into that versus like getting super, super technical, where that would hit a very minority of the audience out there that would actually care to invest. And that's where my heart's at more so anyways. I want to help as many people as I can become, financially free and build in their lives. So that was just really cool, really gratifying, but learned that one today too. Go figure. Got to update the site. There's so much.
And that's good though, because it's all really just feedback, and if it's helpful and useful, then that's awesome. That's something to be grateful for. So does anybody else have anything that they're grateful for, they want to share? I'm about to bring Brian on. And okay, so if you guys don't know who Brian King is, so let me tell you, this guy, he is I think a 24-year cancer survivor. Wow. He has 3 children with ADHD and ADD. I think one of them is autistic. And he himself has been diagnosed with ADHD, ADD. And this guy is resilient. So he has like learned everything from experience. He knows personally, firsthand, by going through his own trials and tribulations and overcoming all that and working through that. And I've never seen anybody in my life work with people like how he does. That's why I said we have to like invent a new word or something for this guy, because he's just such an amazing teacher. He's an author. He's written many books. He's like he's great in relationships, ADHD, life mastery, coaching, you name it, he does it. So I'm going to go ahead and let him take the table, Adam, if that's okay with you, if you have anything else to say. And I just want to bring him on so we can all have a chance to get a moment with him, because I am super excited about this too. So, Mr. Brian King, the teacher of all teachers. Can't wait. You'll see how truly authentic and compassionate he is. There you are, Brian.
Here we are. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Adam, it's a pleasure to meet you. I've heard wonderful things about you.
Wow, pleasure to meet you, Brian. I'm excited to talk.
So where should we begin, Tiffany? Should I fill in some of the gaps in my...
Yes, absolutely. I just didn't want to share too much and give your story away, so take it away.
I'm a 28-year cancer survivor. I had it when I was 18. All 3 of my boys have ADHD and Asperger's, which is a form of autism. My oldest son was just diagnosed additionally with dyslexia, which I also have. And it just seems to me that all of the more challenging genes I have conveniently were passed on to every one of my sons. So the good and bad of that is, the bad is that I feel somewhat responsible, and I don't want to see them suffer as I did. But on the good side, they get to see me manage those challenges every single day. So they see what's possible for themselves as well.
That is so awesome. And I've seen actually a couple of your videos with 1 or 2 of your sons, and it just seems like they are so involved and in the bigger picture, making a difference.
Absolutely. They see what I do and the impact that it has by being just authentic, just showing up with all your, welts, bruises, and imperfections, and they realize that they can put themselves out there and add value by being human. by being vulnerable, as opposed to trying to fake it, put on some persona that's designed entirely to please other people. And it's not about meeting their own needs. So by them seeing me put myself out there in that way, saying, hey, you know what? I'm human too. I screw up, I make mistakes, but I learn every single time. And that's how you ultimately do your best, is by embracing your imperfections, embracing those hiccups, because those are often the most teachable moments, and they're so accessible to us because they happen every day. We're able to really tap into that with some humility instead of beating ourselves up for being human. We learn so much more.
I'm tweeting. I'm tweeting that. Let me make sure I quoted you right. You often do your best when you show your imperfections. Ooh.
It's so true. Also,
sorry, I had to do that. I'm quoting you on that one.
I have so many health challenges. I jokingly said that I'm gonna get a T-shirt with a train wreck on the front of it, and that's gonna be my new logo. I also have a physical condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And what it basically means, it's a genetic mutation which results in the poor production of connective tissue. And there's 6 different types. The type I have affects the connective tissue that makes my ligaments and my tendons. So they're getting weaker all the time. They're not as springy. So if I stretch a joint too much, it stays stretched and it hurts really, really bad. And I have joints that slip out of place daily. In my feet, in my hands. Yesterday, my collarbone kept coming out of joint. And so I just had to take it easy. My shoulders are getting looser. So that's uncomfortable. But it is, again, as difficult as it is, and I'm not saying I don't have days where I just kind of curse it, because I do. But for the most part, I just see it as another teacher. And it's another one of those realities of life. It's not unfair. It's not a punishment. It's simply a fact. And facts are those things that we are able to control in life. You know, they're the people that say, oh, you know, I wish I could tell the difference between what I can control and what I can't. Well, is it a fact? Is it something that exists that is simply unchangeable? All right, then. It's like traffic. You're stuck in traffic. You can pray, you can scream, you can curse. It's not moving any faster. That's because it's a fact. It's the case. So it's just another fact of my life that requires me to be resourceful and find new beliefs, new understandings, new skills, new relationships often, in order to embrace it and live as fully as I can, so I don't feel limited by it.
That makes complete sense. And Brian, you are such, I mean, having gone through as much stuff as you have, and, you know, the health issues and all that stuff, what is it that like keeps you so grateful? Like how has gratitude played such an important part in your life?
Oh, that's easy. Because I could have died when I was 18.
Wow.
I could have died from the cancer. And I got to know other people, because when I was in for my chemo, a lot of chemo is done outpatient these days. Back in the dark ages, when I was having chemotherapy, they kept me in a week in the hospital every single time.
Wow.
So I had 5 days to look at the walls, and I got to meet other cancer patients when I was walking around the hall. And some of them did make it. And they were all awesome people. So I had some survivor's guilt for a while. And what helped me get over that is realizing that.
Could you find that? Did you say survivor's guilt? I'm sorry.
I had survivor's guilt is you don't feel worthy of the life you were given because you think somebody else deserves it more.
Wow, that's deep.
Like what would happen? What happened a lot in soldiers that saw combat. They'd see their buddy get killed, and they would say, "No, why him? Why not me? You know, he was such an awesome guy. He was so brave. He deserved to live." And the way I made peace with that is to live a life. I refuse to live a mediocre life. You know, I'm gonna live it at the highest level I can with the highest level of contribution, not to the point where I kill myself,
Sure.
but just so that I don't take any moment of it for granted, that I make sure that I'm creating value, even if it's in taking a nap. Because taking a nap is, as I see it, is preparation for your next action. So there are some people that say, oh man, you can't rest. There's too much to do. Really? No, I need to rest, because if I push myself to exhaustion, then I become mediocre. And that's not what I'm about. I need to be well rested so that when I show up fully. So the gratitude for everything that I've experienced in the past 28 years that I would not have experienced had I died. I've got 3 sons that I wouldn't have had. I'm on my second marriage, the boy's mother. That's a entirely different story on its own. But I learned a lot from that relationship, and I got the boys as a result. I have a master's degree in social work. I worked in social work for many years and had some incredible experiences with other human beings, seeing them go through their trials, their tribulations, and seeing them emerge wiser and more grateful. And I was a part of that process. So the experiences I get to have that are all about growth, people discovering their sense of wonder and realizing just how much good there is in grief, how much good there is in struggle, and whether it's pain or pleasure or a frigid winter or a wonderful summer day, I get to experience it all. 28 years worth of it that I wouldn't have had. So I can't look at anything and say, oh, I'm so bored. There's nothing to do. I never have that attitude, because there's always something going on that's worthy of your attention.
Interesting to see that you've maintained. I guess it's because you have such a focus on it. You have to have a focus on it daily, because I've met plenty of other people that have been through, trials and things that have happened to them, in their life for whatever reason, right? Doesn't have to be sickness, but sometimes people tend to forget their focus on gratitude and on the bigger picture, and to feel, like you said, that idea of I'm never bored, or I'm alive, I'm here. And it's amazing, and it's gratifying to me to meet you and see that. I think it's amazing that you've lived with that same attitude for, over 20 years or so, since since surviving cancer, and looking at like your vitality towards it. Like I feel that if I met you probably a year out from you surviving when you were 19, you were probably just this fired up. Like you still are fired up about life.
I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. A year out of chemo, I was pissed. But I was fired up, but I was, not in a very productive way, because I had to deal with so much. My girlfriend at the time broke up with me. My friends really kept their distance. I was pretty much isolated. I really did not have a support system. I came from a very typical dysfunctional American family, and they dealt with it by screaming at each other, because we know how healing screaming can be, And that was a joke, by the way. Did I?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not judging anybody's family. People do different things to communicate. Yeah. I don't know.
They did what they could with the resources they had, but
exactly.
I didn't feel supported during that time. So when I came out of it, I felt very empty. I felt gypped. I was bitter. And I sought out my own counselor to help me get past that negative stuff. And it was a gentleman who was very, very tender-hearted, very compassionate, wonderful man. And he's the one that actually inspired me to do social work, because I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And seeing the connection that he and I forged and how well he took care of me and supported me in that journey, I knew I wanted to pay that forward. So that's what got me into social work.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great. So you did that for many years, you said, right?
Yeah, I did. So that was kind of like for 5 years.
That was the turning. And was that the turning point, would you say, just in general in your life after?
It was a very significant relationship, even though it was a professional.
Sure.
Just because I really had to allow myself to be vulnerable. I had to be willing to go into those places where all the pain sat. And I think one of the things that has granted me so many tools to work with people is because I went to all those places. The stuff that people typically go out of their way to distract themselves from, either by binge watching TV or doing drugs or just good old-fashioned denial, I went there because I was sick and tired of the pain. I didn't want it anymore. And there were times where I went in and out of depression, when I felt suicidal, when, you know, any emotion you can think of, I felt it, because when you start uncovering this stuff, energy shows up. And emotion is a form of energy. And I let go a lot of that stuff. And now it's really, really hard to find anything that upsets me. Because when you've dealt with pain at that level, so many of these everyday irritations become nothing. It's like a piece of dust flowing through the air. It's really not anything to get worked up about.
I can really relate to that. And I find that sometimes it's actually, in my life, it's been somewhat isolating, because so where I'm from in Michigan, it just wasn't a really easy time growing up in Detroit. So a lot of my friends just quite frankly aren't around anymore that I grew up with. So when I think about the idea of surviving that, it's just like, I don't have that pressure that a lot of people have on a daily basis. To me, it's a miracle I'm here. The fact that I get to live out my dream and I get to do all these other amazing things, it's really just icing on the cake. It's just a bonus, but I have that constant reminder that's in front of me, because, you know, I still have family, I still have friends, I still have lots of people there, and, you know, I still have the memories of my friends. So based on that, it's really hard for me to take myself seriously, and really just to get mad. And I think I can be annoying sometimes to people, but I'm just like, I'm on a different wavelength. I can't help it. I'm happy. All right, that happened to me. I lost money here. I did this. I'm like, all right, and I'm still alive. I'm still breathing. Thank God.
Yeah, I hear you. And when you have to step up your life at a certain level, there are a lot of folks that just simply don't want to follow you. Yeah. They want to stay where they are, and they want to pull you back down and say, no, Adam, you can't leave us. Yep. You have to stay at that place that allowed us to be connected in the first place. So in order to elevate your energy, in order to evolve, grow, you have to understand that if people don't follow you, you can still be grateful for the fact that they held your hand as far as they did. It's kind of like a relay race. You know, you see those people hand off the baton and then you run forward.
Yep.
It's like they handed the baton and they let go and they set you free. And said, keep running, brother. Keep on. You're doing awesome. I've gotten you this far. Keep going. And that's what kind of makes it easier to, when people need to just kind of fall away and your paths diverge. Yep. That's one metaphor that really kind of helps make it easier.
Absolutely.
That's one thing I love about you, Brian. You always have the coolest metaphors that are so relatable and just easy to get clicks. I don't understand how you do it.
Honestly, I think it's the ADHD, because it makes a lot of very unique, unexpected associations. And because my brain's always trying to find connections, these things they just kind of pop up in my head. And it's not a skill. You know, it's nothing I can teach. It's just the way the old noggin here is wired. Yeah. And my own ability to put my thoughts into language helps too. But one thing I want to throw out there in terms of having that constant flow of gratitude where nothing is taken for granted is I want to remind people that one of the things that leads them to say, same stuff, different day, nothing's new, is the tendency
hate it.
Is people in general take for granted the routine things of their life. The fact that they can get up in the morning and the electricity is on, the stove works, their car starts the first time, the more things seem to work without your effort, the more they fall into the background and almost fall off your radar. Until one of them doesn't work anymore. Then you start slamming your fists and cussing and all that other stuff because you've been inconvenienced.
Yes.
But if you focus on the fact that anything that works in your day, and this is the way you can start tapping more into that, everything that works, you can say thank you. Car started the first time, thank you. Hey, I got a green light, thank you. So anything that seems ordinary must become special again. And then you can be grateful all the time.
Yeah, there literally is so much to be grateful
you've got
for.
A puppy.
Oh yeah, this is Kona. I tried to get her to be co-host in the beginning, but she never showed up.
I think Sammy had a question. Is that?
Yeah, I saw it pop up there.
I don't know how to get it back up, Tiffany. I don't.
Okay, it says, did you want to read it, Brian, or are you even able to see it?
Not anymore, but if you can read it, go ahead and read it again.
Sure. It says, Brian, what's the main thing you focus on in your coaching with your clients pertaining to common parenting challenges?
Well, the first thing they need to do is realize that a big problem with their child, especially the power struggle, is rooted in their own reactivity. They first need to understand that. Their tendency to just react to things in a very emotional, controlling, critical way. If they understand that and they're willing to do the work to unlearn that reactivity so that they can be much more of an observer to what their child does and respond in a way that turns it into a teachable moment. It's holding a child, yelling at them, making them feel stupid, that only teaches one thing, and that's shame. And that's nothing a kid needs.
So let me make sure I understand, just to flesh that out more. I don't have children, but I want to know the concept because one day I want to have them. So you're saying instead of reacting to what a child does, so for example, if they're doing something wrong, you kind of want to observe it and be and respond instead of reacting. Like let that be a learning experience. Did I get that right? I just want to make sure.
Absolutely. The one exception to that rule is when there's danger. If your child's doing something that's going to cause danger, I don't know any other parent that could not yell, "Stop that! Put it down! What are you doing?" Because it just kind of comes from that fearful place.
Survival.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's
get alive. I want to do that too. So
that's the one exception. But it essentially, one example of how you'd move from reactivity to being much more responsive is, let's see you see your kid making a mess in the kitchen. You could go in there and say, "What are you doing? I just cleaned this. Why are you making such a big mess?" Or you could go in there and say, "What's this about?" Or how did we get here? Questions that compel your child to give a thought out response. Why this? Why that? Of all the things you can do. In fact, one thing I teach a lot of my clients who they have siblings that are fighting all the time. Their kids are always fighting. And when you ask them why do they fight all the time, they blame each other. So there's no sense of responsibility. So one way we begin getting responsibility back is when you see one that initiated it. Let's say the sister goes after the brother and the sister's used to blaming the brother for the fight. You can go to the sister and you can ask, of all the things you could have done to interact with your brother, why'd you go with that? The whole pushing thing or the punching thing. I'm just wondering, what was your process of elimination? Why'd you go with that? So, because he did this or he did that. So you let him decide what you were going to do. Do you realize how much power you're giving him? He gets to choose your behavior? Man. So when did you decide to be powerless when it came to your brother? So there are these series of questions that I teach them to ask that really get the child to understand that what they've been using as blame is actually their decision to surrender their power.
I think that's valuable for adults.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing how these things generalize.
Coaching in the workplace. Why did you do that?
But you ask it in a way where it almost helps them find their way to the answer, but they come up with the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Because whether it's an adult or a child, I don't care what age you are, nobody learns from a lecture.
For sure.
So if you stand there and say, well, man, you don't know what you're doing, and if you're like this for the rest of your life, you're just going to end up in prison and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, well, I'm learning so much right now. Let me grab my pen, Dad. I really want to take notes on this one. It doesn't happen.
No.
It builds up resentment, tension. Communication is seriously compromised.
Mm-hmm.
And all because the parent didn't have the tools they needed to create opportunities for learning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of what I teach.
I love that. I noticed that right away when I started working with you, Brian, is that you ask questions, and questions that actually make me think. And I've worked with counselors, psychologists, psychotherapists, mentors, coaches, of all kind. And I just have never had an experience like I have working with you. And it's like, I forgot which one really hit home with me. I think it was the no eyebrows or makeup one when I showed you the very, very first video I ever made. And I haven't publicly shared that. And then you asked me this question. I think I mentioned like I didn't have my eyebrows on or something. And you just put it so beautifully that like really made me stop and think like, oh my gosh, that is so, I mean, it really, really hit home with me. And I'm like, how did he do that? Like, whoa.
That's awesome.
One thing I've developed over the years is the ability to ask a very laser-focused question. You know, the person could be talking for 20 minutes, and I can ask them a very laser-focused question that shifts everything and almost starts this domino effect in their perception. As opposed to having to talk for 45 minutes, we do a lot of storytelling and processing, and how did you feel about that? You know, all that traditional therapy stuff that we've had 100 years of, and the world only seems to be getting sicker. Mm-hmm. So I'm always looking for a better, faster way to help somebody make a fundamental shift in the way they think so that they can have exponential improvement. And maybe the question asking is something I'd be able to teach somebody someday, but I kind of have to figure out how I come up with the questions to begin with.
It's just the synergy, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's awesome. Well, it's a gift. I mean, so my mother, she's worked in social work. She's retired now, but I don't know, over 40 years, 50 years or something. And just all those years of being out there is, and she worked with at-risk youth. So you can imagine what her days look like.
That's pretty intense, yeah.
Yeah, for that long, her entire time, her heart was just with the community. So I completely, I get it, and I know, and like to get her to bottle her questions or what she does, like in a thing, it's like you almost have to make it a life mission to continue to hone in your craft, to be able to really and find the right mentors, and go through the processes yourself to really be able to even come close to really matching something when somebody adds that type of value. So I really commend you on how much effort you put into your craft and your work, because I know that's not easy.
It's not easy, but when I look at the problem I'm trying to solve, and the problem I'm trying to solve is the human suffering caused by reactivity. And reactivity, I think, really fed into this recent election, because you saw how certain words could be dropped that were very prejudicial, very divisive, and people would react with very strong negative emotion. And leadership is not about getting people rallied around reaction. Leadership is about helping people create a vision of what they can create through a well thought out vision that's about bettering their community, bettering themselves. And that didn't happen too much in the past election. But I see the pain that reactivity caused. I was reactive for the first, 25 years of my life. And one of the things I began learning, especially when in the early 90s, I discovered Zen Buddhism and began instruction under an American Zen master. And I really got a good close look at my reactivity and how much I was twisting my perception of my relationship with others, my relationship with the world, all because I thought my life was being done to me And I didn't see myself as somebody who was creating my experience. So the more I was able to get into that reality, the harder it was to avoid responsibility for anything. So helping people unlearn those reactions that make them feel like a victim, make them feel like, God has it out for me, or, I'm just not a lucky person because all this stuff keeps happening. And they have no idea how to take the bull by the horns and begin influencing their life much more effectively because they're too caught up in that victim mentality. And one thing I really have to commend you for, Tiffany, is she has just dived right into the process. I've worked with so many people over the years, and when Tiffany and I started working together, it was clear she was ready. She wasn't showing up with any BS story or any rationalizations or excuses. She was ready to just go after it. And that's one of the reasons why she's made so much progress in such a short time.
Thank you.
Tiffany doesn't play. When Tiffany does something,
Tiffany don't play.
When she does something, she does it.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. I appreciate the compliment.
You're very welcome.
And would you mind sharing a little bit about like any strategies you have, or any anything that you think would that people would find helpful about how you do what you do, like that what you just explained? Or like, is there any little secrets you have? Or, I mean, obviously a secret's a secret, but.
Well, are there any that come to mind of what we've talked about, Tiffany, that you want me to kind of elaborate on?
Well, okay, I could go on, but what's been really helpful to me is you understand people and you let them be as they are, but you're the one that shifts around them. Like for example, I probably haven't even followed instructions on your your modules and everything. I think I've completed like 6, but I've learned so much and I've grown so much in just a short amount of time. Like, I'm so excited to go through all of them, but yet you have just been so gentle and so patient, knowing how to like handle me, even though you don't even know me. Like, you adjust and you're adaptable to people, it seems. Whereas other people or coaches and teachers that I've worked with, they kind of like expect everybody else to adjust and be adaptable to them. It's like, they're like, nope, this is the program. This is how we do it. You're like complete opposite. And I've seen that to be so much more effective, at least in my life.
Well, one thing that I realized is that nobody has the right to tell somebody else how to be human. You have a lot of values out there. You're seeing the uproar. You have the LGBT, you have different skin tones. And there are people that have opinions about, this is what's acceptable. This is what it means to be human. This is abnormal. This is normal. And when you just pay attention, you realize that diversity is the only real status quo of the universe. That diversity is where it's at. And for me to look at anybody else and say, this whole human thing, you're doing it wrong. One of the most arrogant statements I can make. So when I'm working with somebody else who's comfortable kind of letting things be organic like that, I watch them discover what being human means for them. And it sure as heck doesn't mean being like me. I've got my own little corner of the world where this is the Brian version of human, and then there's the Adam version of human. And you want people to fully step into what is unique about this very special combination of skills and challenges and DNA and whatever it is, because the contribution that comes from that is going to be far more superior than if this is the person that's taught to fight against themselves because they want to please people, because they're fighting so hard to be normal. And that's a lot of the stuff that I want to encourage people to kind of unlearn and get past, because the more you fight against who you are, not only the more you suffer, but the less you're able to give to the world, because you're always second guessing. Should I do this? Should I not do that? And a lot of what Tiffany's doing is just letting it come forth and learning to get out of her way more. And when I watch your videos, Tiffany, it's wonderful to see that little bit more coming through each time, a little bit more of that sunlight. And when you're at the end of this journey, or at least the end of this portion of your journey, it's going to be wonderful to reflect upon where you were when you started, where you're at now, and give yourself credit for allowing yourself to go there and have that journey.
Absolutely. And it's been crazy because, you know, I had all this like planned out of my head and like what I was going to do and how I was going to do it. And like I was saying earlier in the show, it's completely opposite. And I really, honestly, I haven't ever allowed myself to get to a place like that, to where I don't have control of everything and I don't know how it's going to go. I mess up some days, I miss, like I still record, it's maybe late, I don't know. I just do it. And like, it doesn't always get done exactly how I plan, at least most of the time it doesn't. And it's cool to see that like once you are able to just kind of take a step back and like you said, get out of your own way and just be, it's so wonderful and it's enlightening.
The funny thing that you said about control is there are many people that fight for control and they kid themselves into believing that they actually had it at some point.
Right.
You know, I have to do things this way because I need to feel in control. Really? So what are you not admitting to yourself? You're not admitting that you never had control to begin with. You desperately want it because you're fighting for safety. You're not fighting for control. You want to feel safe, as though nothing can ever happen that's going to hurt you. And what I tell people is, it's not your job to go through life not being hurt. It's your job. You are put here to grow. So the things that stretch you, the things that challenge you, the things that knock you down and require you to get back up, that's what you're here for. You need to grow, not control. And the more resourceful and resilient you learn to become, you won't care about control anymore because you're not afraid anymore. You're not seeking safety. You're seeking growth. And man, some of those moments suck. They can be really hard, but as long as you remember, all right, this is what I signed up for. I signed up for growth. This is going to be a hard one. And there have been some where I was on my knees sobbing. I was hit so hard. But then once I was through that part, you take a deep breath and you say, okay, how do I take the next step? And sometimes that's all the further you can see. You can't see to the end of the tunnel. You can just see one step further. But if you're moving one step, you're moving forward. And that's a wonderful beginning.
Absolutely. I love it. I'm sorry, you're always so, I shouldn't say always, but whatever you say, Brian, you have this unique, intricate way of saying things. And I'm always like, wow, yeah, like in astonishment, like it's resonating, like setting in. Thank you.
Yeah, I've spent almost the past 30 years just going deeper and deeper with my own work because this is my only shot. You know, I was given a second chance at life. This is my shot to live my life well and make sure that people's lives are better for the fact that I'm still here. And one of the only ways I can do that is I've got to make myself better. I've got to do right by me. I've got to keep refining my character so that when I show up, there's value brought to it. I don't want, and not to say that I can control this, but I don't want to be the person where when I walk into a room, somebody cringes. You're like, oh, he's here. I want to be the person that walks in and you know that I've got your best interest in mind.
Absolutely.
And I
wish we had that mindset.
Are you able to read the comments? Do you guys see them? I just want to publicly state them because,
Please.
Brian, you've got compliments. So obviously from Sammy. Sammy says, thank you. And she says, hell yeah, Brian. And she feels that. And there was
Sammy's great. I actually met her through you, and we connected on Facebook, and we've been chatting back and forth. And I am really eager for the time when Sammy and I get to talk, you know, maybe through Messenger or Skype or something, because she just seems like a real dynamite person.
Yeah, she's great.
Tiffany is quite a connector. brings so many people together. It's like it's one of her gifts, many gifts, but definitely one of them. All the time, Tiffany just brings people together. I love it. I'm grateful for that.
Thank you.
Well, and anybody that's not familiar with Tiffany, if you start following her on Facebook, and when you see her videos go out there, she just has this very warm presence that just kind of pulls you in and is very welcoming, almost very motherly. So it's hard to be put off by her. You know, you're just naturally kind of invited in, and you just want to listen to what it is she's talking about. I mean,
Absolutely.
Yeah, Tiffany, you could probably sit there and read your insurance policy, and people would tune in to listen. You know,
that is a gift, isn't it?
I've never heard insurance approached that warmly before.
They're only raising my premium 2%.
Vibrating at that level.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm probably going to have to sell my house and both my cars to afford the new premium, but somehow the way Tiffany approached it, I'm okay with it.
I love it.
Oh,
That's
thank
great.
you. What a compliment. And thank you, Colin. I appreciate that too. Does anybody else have any questions for Brian while we have the pleasure of having his time before we go? Or Brian, do you want to add anything else to the night?
Well, if I did, we'd be here for another hour.
Right.
I mean, anything that I put out there or suggest, hopefully those that are watching are taking it as a little indication of what's possible for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you do one thing just one bit different than you did yesterday, your life can move forward. So it isn't even necessary for me to sit here and give you 10 steps to this, or let me give you my 5-step formula. No, I can give you one thing. And if you apply it consistently, things will begin to shift for you. And you know, I get questions a lot via email or Facebook Messenger. They say, well, you know, my kid's like this, or, you know, my kid's out of control, is disrespectful. Tell me what I need to do. And I'll give them one thing, and they think it has to be complicated. They think I have to be able to tell them a book's worth of content in order to change things. They don't believe that it can begin with a single shift.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably one of the biggest takeaways from not only your and my work together, Tiffany, but anybody that's watching, is think about one thing that if you changed it would improve the way you feel about yourself, about other people, or with the world, and then do that thing and do it consistently, and you will feel the shift. And as far as I can tell, it probably won't hurt because it's a small enough shift. It's the ones that are so quick, so big, that they rattle your nervous system. Those are the ones that we tend to fight back against. So keep it simple, folks, and begin every day by remembering to take everything with gratitude instead of taking it for granted.
I love that.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Colin, for your comment. Colin says, it's been a pleasure to sit here listening, guys. The phrase eye-opener doesn't even come close. Great insights.
I agree, Colin. I agree with that. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Colin. I appreciate that.
Sammy says, thanks for having us. And thank you guys all for tuning in and just being here.
Absolutely. An eye-opener. I agree with you exactly, Colin. Doesn't even begin. So I learned a lot today. I'm going to reflect a lot on the things you said, and I'm going to concentrate on that one thing. And I try to make it gratitude on a daily basis. And I just want to reaffirm and keep focusing and kind of keep pursuing that path, because it's just such a shifting thing in my life, and it's been a shifting thing, and it's not over. So that if I can keep that along with some of your spirit and just the vitality for life, I mean, geez, things are great.
Amen, brother.
Always.
Oh, Sam decides to come into the broadcast. You're gonna need to watch the replay on this one, Sam. It's good. It's a good one.
Brian, do you know Sam Gonto?
I don't think so.
Huh.
And everybody that's watching, if we are not already connected on Facebook, please seek me out.
And don't you have a show every day during the weekdays?
During the week, I do my Facebook Lives, and I do what I've been talking about here. I discuss one problem, I give a specific action step to take, and so far people seem to really like them.
That's awesome.
I love your action
They
word.
share, yeah. The past couple of days have been a little difficult with my health decided to rear its ugly head this week. So I had to do more self-care and I wasn't doing as much. But tomorrow I should be able to get fully back on the horse and do an action step and a Facebook Live. What Tiffany was referring to is each morning I give whoever's looking an action word. And the action word is typically some kind of a verb. You know, I'll say, you know, like step as in step up, or I'll say courage, or I'll say happiness. And what I'm basically doing is I'm inviting whoever looks at that to contemplate what they could do in their day to bring that to it. If they were more courageous, if they were a little happier, what would they do differently in order to accomplish that experience? And it's just one word. I'm not giving them a whole lot that they need to remember, just one word. And if you contemplate that throughout the day, it changes the quality of your day. And the people that latch onto that have really seen value from it. It's just one word.
So
Wow.
simple. I love it.
Well, I just sent you a friend request. I'm excited to watch some of your material and get that word of the day.
We're going to have fun, man. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
And I'm including Brian King's information, or I have included it in the post here for Facebook Live. And we'll go ahead and be sure to post it on our videos that we upload as well. And oh my gosh, thank you so much for your time, Brian, for tuning in and just sharing yourself. Like I love how humble you are, and I love how authentic and genuine and just real you are. It's really such a pleasure to have you in my life and just even know you.
Well, the feeling is mutual, Tiffany. I mean, anytime that I work with any client, I learn so much from them. Because everybody has a different story. They've learned different things. They have been challenged in different ways. And some of the solutions that I come up with are like what you said earlier, Adam, just that synergy. And being able to work with somebody that requires me to be resourceful in a new way and kind of look at things from a slightly different angle. So you very much, Tiffany, are kind of creating the coach that you need in me a little bit. And I'm also opening myself up to allowing myself to be influenced by you instead of always trying to be the smartest kid in the room. And I think that makes for much better outcomes. So yeah, thank you both for having me. It's been an absolute delight.
Well, thank you for your time. I know it's late for you, and that meant so much to me. I was just like ecstatic that night. I told Dino, I'm like, oh my gosh, Brian's gonna be on the show. And
yeah, I'm proud of myself that I was able to speak coherently and make it through the whole hour.
Nice.
So I'm gonna reward myself with a good night's sleep.
All right. To prepare you for the next day and the next life's work.
Absolutely.
Got it.
All regeneration.
I took a note on that one. All right. Do you want to sign us off, Tiffany?
Sure. And thank you again, everyone, for tuning in. Next week, we will be at 4:30 Pacific Standard Time. And I will go ahead and include links that were talked about here. And thank you, Adam. Thank you, Brian. Thank you all. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you, Brian.
Take care.